She became my secret lifeline and saved me without saying a word. This isn't just a love story. It's a raw, emotional journey of healing through the most unexpected connection. Living in the gray. Have you ever walked through life without really living? That was me. Every morning, I woke up with the same heaviness pressing down on my chest like a wet blanket I couldn't shake off. I'd stare at the ceiling for what felt like hours, trying to summon the energy to face a world I no longer understood. They called it high-functioning depression. I called it being broken in silence. To most people, I was fine. Smiling, nodding, doing my job, making polite jokes in meetings. I even went out for drinks sometimes, laughed when I had to. It was all part of the performance. Inside, though, I was underwater, drowning. Every thought felt like static. Every social interaction like walking on nails. I couldn't even cry anymore. Just this numbness that clung to me like fog. I kept telling myself, "You're just tired. You're not unfixable." But truthfully, I was disappearing. Quietly, slowly, and no one noticed. Not even me. The girl with the violet headphones. It started with a glance. Just that, nothing more. Not fireworks. Not music swelling in the background. Just a glance across a nearly empty train car at 6:42 p.m. on a Tuesday that felt like any other. Except it wasn't. She sat by the window, violet headphones covering her ears, hair tied in a loose braid that looked like it had been undone and redone 100 times that day. She wore a denim jacket covered in tiny embroidered stars and carried a thick, beaten-up notebook filled with hand-drawn doodles and bits of taped-in paper scraps. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't scrolling. She wasn't even reading. She was just looking at me, not in that flirtatious, "Hey, stranger" way. No, she looked at me like she already knew me, like she saw something familiar. I looked away instantly, embarrassed. But I felt it. The moment lingered long after the train pulled into my stop. I saw her again the next day, and the day after. Same train, same time, same seat by the window. And each time, she glanced at me. Just once. But the thing is, when you feel invisible long enough, being seen, truly seen, feels like a shock to the system. It scared me. I didn't smile, didn't wave, just sat there, pretending I didn't care that she was slowly becoming the only part of my day I looked forward to. Some days she wore different headphones, yellow, white, once even bright green. But the violet ones were my favorite. 2 weeks passed before anything happened. I was having an especially dark day. The kind where the world feels drained of all color, and your own thoughts turn against you like wolves. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't spoken to anyone all day. The train doors opened. I stepped in and sat in my usual spot. Head down, music off. I just wanted to disappear. And then, she slid into the seat across from me. Close. Too close. I froze. She didn't say anything. Just reached into her bag, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and slid it across the table to me without a word. Then put her violet headphones back on and turned to stare out the window. I stared at the paper like it was a live grenade. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. In soft purple ink, written in delicate, messy handwriting, were just 5 words. "I see you. You're not alone." I blinked, and blinked again. My throat tightened so suddenly it hurt. Before I could look up, she was gone. Notes from a stranger. After that first note, I expected her to disappear. Like a figment of my imagination, a ghost in a denim jacket. Someone my weary brain had conjured out of desperation. But she was there the next day. Same time, same place. This time, she didn't sit across from me. But when I glanced up, there was another folded note waiting on the edge of the seat beside me. I hesitated. I don't know why. Maybe I was afraid it would say something cruel. That maybe this was all a twisted joke. But I opened it anyway. This one said, "Some days the wait is too much. But I promise, there are days ahead where the light feels real again. Don't stop showing up." I read it 3 times, folded it carefully, put it in my coat pocket. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't go straight to bed when I got home. The next note came 2 days later, tucked inside a used sketchbook she left on the seat across from me. The cover read, "This world doesn't see softness, but maybe it should." Inside, pages were filled with charcoal drawings, people curled into themselves, faces half dissolved into fog, hands reaching from dark corners. On the last page, a message in the same purple ink. "I don't know your name, but I know your silence. And it matters." I swallowed hard. I wanted to reply. No, needed to. So I tore a page from my own notebook and wrote, hand shaking, "Why me?" Left it in the same seat the next day, tucked into the sketchbook's back cover. When I returned the day after, her reply was waiting. "Because I see something in you that looks like the parts of me I lost. I don't want you to lose them too." From there, it became a ritual. Notes passed back and forth, sometimes long, sometimes only a few words. Never names, never voices, only thoughts, raw, undiluted. She told me she used to have panic attacks so severe they'd last for hours. That she once sat in a bathroom stall during class, counting ceiling tiles to keep from disappearing completely. I told her about the night I stood on the edge of the bridge downtown, wondering how cold the water would be. She didn't gasp or write platitudes. She wrote, "The fact that you're still here to write this means you've already chosen life more than once. That's not weakness. That's strength in its rarest form." I began to wait for the train not to get somewhere, but to find her, to be reminded I was real. One evening, I asked the question I'd been holding back for weeks. "Do you exist outside of this?" Her reply came in the form of a tiny drawing. Two silhouettes on opposite sides of a train window, one hand pressed to glass, the other reaching back. Underneath, she wrote, "This is enough, isn't it?" And the truth? It was. The night I didn't answer. I didn't mean to disappear. It wasn't dramatic. There was no final message. No, I can't do this anymore. Just silence. The fog crept back in one morning, slowly, like a tide that waited for me to let my guard down. I missed the train. Then another. Then a whole week. I stopped checking my coat pocket for her notes. Stopped writing back. Stopped showering. Stopped pretending I had control. I curled into myself, like I always did, and let the dark swallow me. My room became a vacuum. Time bent. Light vanished. Food had no taste. I told myself she probably didn't even notice. I was just a stranger, after all. But on the 7th day, something strange happened. I opened my apartment door to grab a package. And there it was. A folded note. In purple ink. Taped gently to the box. My hands began to tremble. I peeled it open. "You disappeared." And I didn't know where to send the light. Beneath it, another line, shakier than usual. "Are you okay? Please just let me know you're still out there." There was a number. Just 10 digits. Nothing else. I stared at it for a long time. Hands frozen. Breath caught. I didn't call. But that night, I sent a single message. "I'm here." A minute later. Barely. Then nothing. For a moment I regretted it. Maybe it was too much. Too raw. But then, 3 dots appeared. Typing. And then, "Barely is still here." That counts. I didn't cry. Not yet. But something cracked. Her name was May. The next day, she told me. Said she couldn't keep calling herself a stranger anymore. Not after she almost lost me. Said her name meant bitter and beloved all at once. And that somehow, that described her perfectly. "I wasn't supposed to care," she wrote. "You were just a reflection at first. Someone to write towards, so I didn't write into the void." I wrote back, "But you did care." She replied, "So did you." I didn't answer right away, because I knew she was right. The notes continued. But now we texted too. Carefully, softly, never with too much pressure. No questions we didn't want to answer. No demands. Just presence. Some nights we'd send music. One song. That's all. Other nights, poems. Sometimes she'd send voice notes. Short ones. Whispered. Nervous. Hearing her voice felt like unwrapping a piece of the moon. And still, after everything, we hadn't met. Not properly. Not outside the train. I think we were both afraid to break the magic. But that magic had already become something real. It was more than fantasy. It was shelter. The night I finally asked. One evening, long after midnight, I sent her a message I'd been holding in my chest like a stone. "Can we meet?" I waited, heart pounding. She didn't respond right away. Then, "Only if it's not at the train." That surprised me. Why not? "Because I don't want us to meet as shadows. I want you to see me in color." We chose a bookstore cafe. Neutral ground. Warm lights. Old records playing. The kind of place that smelled like cinnamon and forgotten pages. I got there early. Sat at a corner table, hands clammy, rehearsing greetings in my head that never sounded right. And then, she walked in. May. No headphones. Hair loose around her shoulders. A sweater 2 sizes too big. Tiny constellation tattoos trailing her wrist like they'd always been there, waiting to be seen. She saw me and smiled. Not a wide smile. Not the kind people force. but one that knew something. Everything. She walked straight over and sat down across from me. We didn't speak for a full minute. Just looked at each other. Breathing. Existing. I thought you'd be taller, she teased gently. I laughed. I thought you'd be imaginary. Her cheeks flushed, but she didn't look away. She was nervous. So was I? But the silence between us wasn't awkward. It was sacred. We talked for hours. She told me about her therapist, her childhood, her insomnia, the guilt she carried for the sister she couldn't save, how she'd been to the bridge too, once, but turned around when she got a text from a friend she hadn't seen in months. I realized people can be lifelines without even knowing it, she said. So I decided to become one for someone else. I told her about the way my father never noticed when I stopped speaking, how I'd built routines not to survive, but to disappear more efficiently, how I once practiced fake smiles in the mirror just to get through breakfast. She reached across the table, took my hand, held it like it was breakable, but worthy. We didn't kiss that night. We didn't need to. The intimacy wasn't in the touch. It was in the seeing, in the staying. That was 6 months ago. Since then, we've met every week. Some days we talk for hours. Some days we just sit side by side and say nothing at all. Some days we're still broken, but we're broken together. And that makes all the difference. Green Square Final Reflection, the story I never thought I'd tell. This was never just a love story. It was a rescue, a rebirth, a reminder that sometimes the lifeline you need isn't loud, isn't planned, isn't perfect. Sometimes it arrives in the form of a girl with violet headphones and purple ink who teaches you that silence isn't emptiness. It's a place where healing begins. To anyone who feels like they're fading, please stay. Your lifeline might be one breath, one stop, one note away. And when they arrive, don't run. Let them see you. Let them stay.